Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu consciously channelized funds to Hamas and helped it gain the strength and power that it has today. But why did Israel do so? And how did its calculations completely go haywire? Well, Benjamin Netanyahu's government worked with the singular purpose of trying to prevent the formation of a Palestinian state, according to experts. It also sought to buy peace by giving Gaza residents a glimpse of a better life by funneling money and providing work permits. The issue of funneling Qatari money to Hamas by the Israeli government was mentioned in public by Saudi Arabia's former intelligence chief in an address on October 20th. His remarks came after Hamas terrorists on October 7th butchered over 1,000 Israelis and took over 200 hostage. His statement surprised many as people couldn't make sense of the contradiction. Why would Israel funnel funds to Hamas in the first place? Well, the answer is if Israel didn't directly create a Frankenstein's monster, it for sure helped nourish it. And it was all done in a bid to thwart creation of a Palestinian state. Now, it has been clear for years that Netanyahu government has been working against the formation of an independent Palestinian state. The creation of Israeli settlements deep within the West Bank negates the scope of a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict. The West Bank is controlled by the Palestinian Authority, which is led by Mahmoud Abbas. Gaza, the other Palestinian territory, has been under Hamas's control since the 2006 elections. Hamas ousted the Palestinian Authority's Fatah in an election. Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu, who was against a Palestinian state, was reported as recently as July by the Jerusalem Post. It said Palestinian hopes of establishing a sovereign state must be eliminated. This is what Netanyahu told members of a parliament committee in a closed-door meeting. This is according to that article. Netanyahu's remarks came as he was discussing plans for a scenario that did not have Mahmoud Abbas at the helm of the Palestinian Authority. But Netanyahu also said that Israel needed the Palestinian Authority and shouldn't let it completely collapse. This is the fine balancing that Israel under Netanyahu has been trying to do for years now. Keep power centers between the West Bank and Gaza separate, neither let the Palestinian Authority get strong nor allow it to collapse, and more importantly, prop up Hamas. Journalist Tal Schneider wrote in the Times of Israel, the idea was to prevent Abbas or anyone else in the Palestinian Authority's West Bank government from advancing towards the establishment of a Palestine state. Thus, amid this bid to impair Abbas, Hamas was upgraded from a mere terror group to an organization with which Israel held indirect negotiations via Egypt, and one that was allowed to receive infusions of cash from abroad. But the confounding question is how Gaza got millions of dollars with Israel's help. Well, Hamas has several sources of funds, but money from Qatar is the mainstay. Yes, the same Qatar which is hell-bent on sentencing Indian ex-Navy personnel to death in highly opaque judicial proceedings. Qatar is gas-rich and powerful in the region. It has been giving hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to Gaza residents since 2014. At one point, it spent $30 million per month to help operate Gaza's lone power plant and support needy families and officials in the Hamas-run government. This is according to Reuters report from October 2023. The Qatari money earlier transferred via the Palestinian Authority is now routed via Israel. Qatar transfers the money electronically to Israel. Israeli and United Nations officials carry the cash over the border to Gaza in suitcases. Thus, as Reuters quoted a Qatari government official, Qatari aid to the Gaza Strip is fully coordinated with Israel, the UN, and the US. Needy families in Gaza then receive the cash and sign a document, a copy of which goes to Israel, Qatar, and the UN. Other than the funds funneled by Israel, Hamas uses a global financing network for support from charities and friendly nations passing cash through Gaza tunnels or via cryptocurrencies to bypass international curbs. Iran, Israel's bitter enemy, also funds and arms Hamas. In 2019, the Jerusalem Post quoted Prime Minister Netanyahu as saying that whoever is against a Palestinian state should be for transferring the funds to Gaza, because maintaining a separation between the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank and Hamas in Gaza helps prevent the establishment of a Palestinian state. Netanyahu argued that it was better for Israel to serve as the pipeline to ensure the funds don't go to terrorism. But look what happened. The Israeli PM employed another strategy as well, of work permits and glimpse of a better life to the Gazans. Israel believed that by channeling the funds to Gaza, it would cut off the Palestinian Authority and the money would go to the people, not into terror activities against it. Israel's other move to help people in Gaza was to offer work permits. The permits to travel to Israel for work and return at the end of the day increased to 20,000 in 2023 from around 3,000 in 2021. Journalist Tal Schneider writes that according to Israeli officials, these work permits that allow Gazan laborers to earn higher salaries than they would in the enclave were a powerful tool to help preserve calm. Hamas was also included in discussions about increasing the number of work permits Israel granted to Gaza residents, which kept money flowing into Gaza. In a recent post on X, Avi Yisakov, Middle East commentator and Fauda creator, highlighted few thousands of Gaza residents worked in Israel and were treated in hospital there. But Israel's clever strategy, at least it thought it was clever, turned out to be not so clever. Netanyahu's calculations would go horrifically wrong. How Hamas used the calm as cover, we are going to tell you now. Hamas somehow managed to lull Israel into complacency. In 2017, Hamas played diversionary tactics by softening its stance on Israel. Hamas leader Khalid Mashal released the policy document in 2017, which for the first time indicated a willingness to accept a Palestinian state along with Israel, although without recognizing the Jewish nation. It also said Hamas's struggle wasn't against Jews, but against Zionist aggressors. Tal Schneider says since 2014, Netanyahu-led governments have practically turned a blind eye to the rockets and the fire from Gaza. Hamas kept training its terrorists, often in plain sight, as the Israeli intelligence apparatus was led to believe that Hamas wasn't prepared for any attack and the economic incentives to Gazans were cushioning their lives. Hamas trained and dug a huge network of tunnels to smuggle and hide weapons, even as Israel kept funneling Qatari money into Gaza and making it stronger. Political scientist Ian Bremmer said on X, this was a mistake of epic proportions. Hamas was and is a terrorist organization with critical support from Iran, from Russia, and before October 7, from the Israeli PM. This helps explain why so many Israelis are united, not just in destroying Hamas, but also in removing Netanyahu from office. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has come under tremendous pressure and criticism after the October 7 Hamas attacks. If he is being slammed for the deadly attacks at home, abroad he is facing criticism for the Gaza offensive. How Netanyahu steers his country in this moment of crisis and what stand he takes on the Palestinian statehood issue will determine the fates of both Israelis and the Palestinians. Do tell us what you think about this video in the comment section, and for more news updates, subscribe to India Today.